Thriving in today's fast-paced world of change and disruption requires innovation. Inside Outside Innovation is the podcast that explores the ins and outs of innovation with raw stories, real insights, and practical advice from the best and brightest in the world of startups and innovation. Each week, we'll bring you the latest ideas in lean startup, design thinking, corporate venture capital, and more. Now, let's get started.
So welcome to another episode of Inside Outside Innovation. We are here in Baltimore this week with the Startup Champions Network, and I am so excited to have our guest, Jess Knox, who's now the new chairman of the Startup Champions Network, and we're here to talk to him about the organization as well as some of the things that are going on in his home state in Portland, Maine. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Excellent. So Jess, tell the audience a little bit about who you are and how you got into this innovation ecosystem building.
That's a great question. Maybe a longer answer. So really three odd phases of my background. So I worked for a long time as a grassroots political consultant all over the country, and in fact, some in Europe, and then served in the Obama administration as part of the U.S. Small Business Administration. And so the way I describe those two phases of my life is that I talked to a lot of people around the country about how do you create jobs, how do you create dynamic economies, and then I worked with small business owners and entrepreneurs from the government. I was there to help, so to speak. And then in late 2011, I decided to leave government, start a family, and basically said I wanted to stop talking about creating jobs and wanted to get involved in doing it.
So tell us a little bit about the Startup Champions Network and what that is all about.
Yeah, so the Startup Champions Network is an intentional network, sort of confederation of black belt, professional, full-time ecosystem builders who are working to help support entrepreneurs, high-growth, high-impact companies with the resources and tools that they need to be successful.
So you and I've been part of the group as well for a long time, and it's really interesting to see the dynamic change over the last 3 to 4 to 5 years in the concept of communities and actually taking innovation in new directions. So talk a little bit about what you've seen over the last couple of years and this rise of the rest and the rise of innovation around the country.
Yeah, I think communities that are outside the traditional ones that we all grew up thinking about, the Bostons, the Chicagos, the New York, the LAs, even Silicon Valley, are starting to realize that they can take the reins of their economic future back a little bit, not just from institutions, but they don't have to necessarily play second fiddle. I mean, the lifestyle in some of these other communities is frankly much better than it might be in some of those larger communities. And the ability for people to agitate and collaborate with each other in these more modest-sized communities has really begun to yield some momentum and some success. And I think we're seeing that in the membership. We're, yes, we have Dallas and Chicago and places like that, but we have Portland, Maine. We have Holyoke, Mass. We have Lincoln and Omaha and Iowa City and Cedar Rapids. But we have New Orleans and Charleston. So we have such a diverse set of cities. I think that's reflective of what that movement is starting to build.
So one of the things our audience is very interested in is this rise of startups, and specifically, how are startups and corporations kind of working together, or these different models that you're seeing between this corporate and startup innovation space?
Yeah, I think, first, as you know, I'm a huge fan of this podcast, and frankly, I love to listen to the work you guys are doing. But I think some of the things we've seen there's a whole spectrum of partnerships. Some of the work we're doing is working with Maine's largest companies to identify those opportunities, those challenges they may have in their current product set, whether they're with their existing customers or new customers they might have, and engaging the entrepreneurial community that we have in Maine, and reaching out around the country to other startup champion communities, frankly, and saying, do you have a company that might be working on this? Or is adjacent to this problem, or this solution, I should say, and trying to bring those together. I think that's what the network actually ends up building, both as value for corporate partners, but for each other, is that as this network begins to grow and really begins to cultivate the collaboration across sort of just geographic and regional borders, the ability to help companies move back and forth and access markets and corporate partners in a much more rapid fashion is going to be, I actually think, really groundbreaking.
So tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing in your own home state in Portland, Maine. I know you've started a new kind of co-working corporate innovation lab called Venture Hall. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we looked at the ecosystem in Maine, and one of the things that is really interesting about Maine is we have a ton of second homeowners. In the summer in Maine, we go from a traditional population of 1.3 million to 4 million on the weekends. And so we kind of looked like, could we build a model that is like a boutique hotel, right? You don't build a boutique hotel in Portland, Maine for the people who are going to stay in it in January. You build it for the people who are going to stay in it from May to October. And so we looked at, could we leverage the quality of place in a very transparent way and say, everybody wants to come to Portland in the summer. Could we leverage the corporate relationships that we have and build an innovation, an accelerator program that brings companies in to both enjoy that incredible quality of life that happens in Portland, whether you're paddleboarding or sailing or hiking or doing whatever you want to do.
Lobstering,
or just eating lobster, or visiting LL Bean or whatever else people think about Maine. But it allows us to not only bring those companies there, but it's also a magnet for mentors from around the country. So we can expand our mentor pool by saying to someone like in Lincoln, hey, you want to come to Portland, Maine for 4 days? We need you to work with the companies on Friday and Monday, but you can have the weekend to yourself. So we're really leveraging the place-based model for innovation and high-growth, high-impact companies.
So you just announced this. How far in the process, and what are you looking forward to the next 90 days?
Yeah, next 90 days, we hope to finalize our third of 3 significant corporate partnerships, which will really dictate the type of companies that we're looking for and the problems that we're trying to solve with our companies. My co-founder is also currently down with the Village Capital team in Washington, so we'll also be working on a food system accelerator where we'll be identifying a problem. Maine has a very robust sort of organic food network that is currently unscalable in many ways. And so we're going to be working with companies from around the country, again, to bring them in and sort of test out our model with those companies and in conjunction with Village Capital in January. So we've got a lot of things going on. The next 90 days are very full, but we're excited about that. We'll be launching a 1 Million Cups chapter as well. So we'll be borrowing ideas from a lot of people that are happening in Lincoln and Omaha, and as I said, a lot of other places, and leveraging them for our work.
Excellent. If people want to find out more about the Startup Champions Network or Venture Hall or connect with you personally, what are some of the best ways to connect with you?
Well, there's a bunch of different ways. You can go to Startup Champions or startupchampionsnetwork.com. You can go to venturehall.org, which is my organization. Another organization I work with is Maine Accelerates Growth, which is the founding organization of Startup Champions Network. And that works to invest in events and initiatives to help change the culture of Maine into one of innovation. And that's MaineAccelerationsGrowth.com. So you can find, apparently I'm totally overexposed on the web, so go ahead.
Aren't we all? Excellent. Jess, thanks very much for being on Inside Outside Innovation, and I look forward to having some lobster with you soon.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, thanks. Well, that's it for another episode of Inside Outside Innovation. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for tuning in. Reach out and let us know what you're thinking. Give us your feedback. You can reach us on Twitter at the IO Podcast. And if you have 30 seconds to spare, please, we'd love to hear from you on iTunes as well. Go over there, review us, give us an opportunity to earn your trust and business, and we'll talk to you later. Until next time, go out and innovate.